Good afternoon. Welcome into WLOY, Loyola Radio, streaming online at WLOY.org and Campus TV channel 111.1. You're listening to After the Whistle, Loyola's sports talk radio show airing every Monday and Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. on Mondays and Fridays from 1 to 2 p.m. Welcome into our Friday edition of the show. I am Jeffrey Bozzi alongside my co-host, Jimmy Cody. Jimmy, how's it going today?
I'm good, Jeff. I am happy to be talking sports another day with you. As always, that's the highlight of my week. Some tough losses the past, I don't know, since the last show. I mean, probably we'd say 3 tough losses. Tough one in Denver for the Broncos on Monday, but they have another game this weekend against the Jets. We'll take a phone call about that shortly. And then also the Yankees are down to 0-2 going back to the Bronx. So that's not great either. I don't know, not great right now in the sports world, but happy to be here with you talking about it.
Oh yeah. So yeah, hopefully your teams will bounce back because they'll have some chances this weekend for sure. Let's get into the Thursday night football game last night. And I'm just gonna say finally it was somewhat of an exciting Thursday night football game just because we've had some duds the last few weeks, but this was definitely not a dud. But it was definitely a wacky game, and I'll just go into it. It was the New Orleans Saints traveling to the desert to take on the Arizona Cardinals, and coming in, the Cardinals got DeAndre Hopkins back from his 6-game suspension, so that was a huge storyline there. And then the Saints coming in, they were just depleted offensively, and you know what? The offense for them wasn't really the problem. It was Andy Dalton's 2 pick sixes that ended up being the difference, and the Cardinals came out with a 42-34 win, somewhat of a shootout out there in Arizona last night. So a big win for the Cardinals. They go to 3-4 and they stay in contention actually for the NFC West because the NFC West has not been great this season. And the Saints dropped to 2-5, which is a little bit of an alarming record, I think, for them. But Jimmy, I'm not sure if you caught any of this game last night.
Oh no, I watched it all.
Yeah, so I watched pretty much a good chunk of it as well. And I was just going to ask you, what do you think stood out? Obviously, the 2 pick sixes were huge from Andy Dalton, but anything you liked on the Arizona side, just go into it.
No, actually, I didn't really like Arizona's offense. I didn't think they were that great. I thought they were very reliant on DeAndre Hopkins to kind of just get open, run those slants that he's pretty good at, just creating some space and making the catch because he is a very good possession receiver. And we did see that again last night. No touchdowns for DeAndre, but, definitely I can tell him and Kyler have a connection. And that's the only way this team's going to win is if those two have a connection and DeAndre's putting up big numbers and getting big catches. As for some of the other stuff, it was nice to see Benjamin for the running back for the Cardinals get involved too. He had a pretty decent game in both the run game and the pass game. He had 92 yards just on the ground alone. So that's very good for a team that's kind of been struggling, especially without James Conner. So they got 92 from him in the on the ground, and they also got 21 from him through the pass game. So they got a good, I would say, offensive game out of their running back, which is something they haven't been getting, I think, a lot of times this season. With that said, Kyler wasn't like great. There were some times where I felt like he took he only took 2 sacks, but I felt like on some of them they were kind of bad decisions. And he also, on both of those plays, he likes to extend the plays, but sometimes I feel like since he's so small, they do just collapse. The pocket collapses on him, and he finds a way to get stuck. So wasn't crazy about the Cardinals' offense, but although they did do what they need to do, and they got the win. But it was kind of a gift by Andy Dalton because it wasn't like the Cardinals defense, besides those 2 plays, was playing amazing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, their defense obviously was good because they turned some possessions into pick sixes, but yeah, they gave up 34.
I mean, it was 14-6 with 2.5 minutes left in the first half. And then we go to halftime and it's 28-14.
Yeah, and Dalton still threw for 361. I know he had the 3 picks, but he was still slinging it around the field. And Olave was pretty good last night. He had 106 yards on 7 catches. But yeah, it was a weird game because I guess there's one way to look at it. If you take out the 2 pick sixes that the Saints they're right in that game. I mean, that they could have easily won that game.
Yeah, the Cardinals dominated the second quarter. They won 25-7. That's ridiculous for that quarter. I mean, they own them. They won the game in that quarter.
The other thing for the Cardinals, I think it was their first home win in forever. I think they had an 8-game losing streak at home.
Yeah,
which is kind of surprising. So they finally got a home win there.
Did you also see the Cliff Kingsbury Kyler Murray interaction on the sideline?
I did.
Yeah, what did you think about that? I personally don't think Cliff Cliff Kingsbury is that great of a coach. I've never really been like all in on him, and I really kind of never understood why they hired him in the first place. I mean, besides the obvious answer of young offensive kind of guy, but by no means do I think he's some great head coach. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're on a short leash this year because they collapsed last year and then that had that horrible playoff game. The year before they looked like they were playing okay, collapsed as well. And now, I mean, they start off 3-4. That's not great, but hopefully this is a win for them that gets some momentum. But I think Kingsbury, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if things really do go south for this team. He could be easily out after this season, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think coming in, they were trying to be once again a playoff team, and they were just trying to build off of that. I know that they didn't have Hopkins for the first 6 games, but they got to find a way to still play well with the guys that they have. And they haven't been great, but I will say their season is probably going to be make it or break it. Oh my God, I can't talk right now.
Made or broken.
Made or broken. Thank you. With their next slew of games coming up, they go to Minnesota next week. Tough game there, but then they have 3 divisional games in a row, all against the Seahawks, Rams, and 49ers. So
Wow, that's tough.
that's a big stretch for them. If they can win maybe 2 or of the 3, or maybe all 3, I mean, that would be huge.
So if these next 4 games,
And they have the Chargers in there on the back end of it, actually, and they got the New England, but that's far down the road.
It's really their next 5 games because I mean that's before their bye.
Right.
So I mean, if they at Vikings, that's a tough game. Seahawks coming in, they just lost to them, so that's also a tough game. The Rams, I mean, the Rams have not played good this year, but I didn't think the
They
Cardinals.
saw them the first time, so they'll be a little bit familiar there. And then
Yeah,
the 49ers, we'll get into it a little bit. They just made a huge splash.
yeah, they made a huge splash yesterday for Christian McCaffrey. I mean, let's talk about that because I think we've kind of said enough about this game, but let's talk about the NFC West here for a second because I think this completely changes the landscape of it, to be honest with you. Without a doubt, I think the 49ers are positioning themselves to be the best team. And it's also wide open right now.
Yeah, I think the Vegas odds shifted so that San Francisco is now the favorite in the West, and I agree with that. I think they haven't really clicked on all cylinders yet, but I think McCaffrey's a huge addition because we know they have Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, but they've kind of had a revolving door at running back, and they've actually done well running the ball over the last few years in the Garoppolo era. It's just they haven't really had one guy back there for a long period of time, and I think McCaffrey now gives them that chance where he can be that workhorse back. And you know what? You can use him in the receiving game too. And Deebo Samuel, you can use him in the running back game as well. I mean, you can really run the ball too.
It's going to open up their offense.
I mean, their offense, I think, was pretty diverse already. And I think this makes it even more diverse. I think it's a big pickup for them. I'm not sure if he's going to play Sunday, but yeah, it's a huge pickup.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a huge pickup. And I was kind of surprised by the return. Well, I mean, I didn't know really what I expected, but I thought that they got a decent enough return for the Panthers to be happy. I don't want to say that McCaffrey's not that guy anymore, but I don't know if he's like the best running back in the NFL, like people used to consider him. I think he's definitely lost quite a few steps from that. I still think he'd be very effective, especially in the pass game. Like that's really where I think he's gonna have a role on this team. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they keep using Wilson right now to run the ball.
Right. And they also have Elijah Mitchell on the shelf. So
yeah,
if
but
they get him back, that'd be nice.
But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they really start using him as a receiver, McCaffrey. I mean, there's the possibilities are really endless with what Kyle Shanahan can do with this offense. And for McCaffrey, it's a new start, right? Like this could be a whole new career for him. I think a lot of people, if you asked them what they expect out of Christian McCaffrey, I think they probably would have expected a little bit more dominance, but that's just because he was such a great college player. But now he goes back to Northern California where he played in college. He's from Colorado, so he's from that side of the country. Maybe it's just gonna be a more comfortable environment for him. He hasn't
Maybe he'll end up with the Broncos.
well, I don't know about that, but I don't think the Broncos need him. I think they're okay at running back right now. They have enough roster spots filled, and they also can't take on any more cap space. So that's that. But as for the 49ers, I don't know. I think it's a really good move for both McCaffrey and them. And then the way on the Panthers side too, I think they got a decent enough return where they can be happy.
I totally agree. I think McCaffrey is a huge pickup for them. And I think having him in the pass game is huge because you have to give a lot of attention to Deebo Samuel, but you also have to give a lot of attention to George Kittle. And now you have to give even more attention to Christian McCaffrey. So
Mhm.
you try to shut all three of them down to some degree, or you try to let one of them go off and shut down the other two. I will say, good luck to the defenses playing the 49ers. That's all I'm gonna say. They got a lot to handle there. That's a lot to figure out as a defensive coordinator. So, yeah, that's a big pickup for them, definitely. But I believe we're gonna have some guests on shortly.
Yeah, we're working on getting them in, but oh, no, you know what? They are here right now. Mr. Sean Henback, welcome in. We are happy to have you, sir.
Yeah, and sorry for the difficulties with the audio.
All right, Leonard's is there too. That's great to hear. All right, you can hear me, you can hear Jeff?
Yes. Wait, Jeff, you need to talk. Just make sure I can hear
Yeah, I'm here. What's up, Hemi?
you. It's a little quiet, but I hear you.
All right, Jeff's gonna have to really scream then, but we're good. All right, boys, let's face the music here for me. My team is a disaster. We're going up against your Jets. Let's just hear it. I know you guys have a lot you want to build up and get out.
So much to say in so little time. Oh my god.
All right, well, let's hit me with it. What have you been waiting to get out? I mean, you've been saying October 23rd, October 23rd. For months.
The day the Broncos lose to the New York Jets, and Jimmy will never hear this.
You are aware that we have.
And I'll say, Jimmy, October 23rd, 2022, the New York Jets beat the Broncos.
But what is a meaningless? Here's the thing, though. We in the long run, it's a meaningless preseason. It's a meaningless regular season win. You don't agree? You don't agree with that? You don't think it's a meaningless regular season win? I mean, if neither of our teams does anything like monumental this season, like it's just another regular season game. I mean, we've played you guys the last 2 years and won. I don't care about that. I mean, hey, yippee, we beat the Jets. Big deal.
Jimmy, you have the mindset of a team that just doesn't make the playoffs. Us Jets fans, we value every game because we value the playoffs.
All right, so let's get into the game itself. I think the big storyline with the Jets right now is Elijah Moore. So why don't you take a second to get off your chest, at least you, Hemmers. I don't know if Aiden's even there. Kind of how you're feeling about that.
That's why we got Denzel Mims waiting in the rain. He's starting this Sunday, and I have a feeling it's going to be a big day. And the Jets will just let Elijah Moore rot in the bench for the rest of the year because they'll say, "Oh, we can't bench Denzel Mims. He's so good." For the Eagles.
Well, about Elijah Moore, the trade's moving. So you either got to get on, or you got to get off. Personally, I trade the guy. I don't think that he's worthy of consideration for the Jets right now, but especially the direction the Jets are going. I don't think we need him. So you're a
selfish player right there, Jimmy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it wasn't a great look what he did. It definitely came off as a little selfish. And I know it's only 6 games in. He has no touchdowns. I mean, is it fair? Do you think more it was a combination of production and that's why he was seeing less kind of targets and less kind of action on the field? Do you think that's the reason why? Is his own production?
No. I saw this little fun factoid on Instagram, and actually through their first whatever it is, 16 games I think, or somewhere around there, Elijah Moore actually has more targets than Cooper Kupp had. So he's just a selfish.
Wow. But also he's never gonna get covered like Cooper Kupp. So that's really saying a lot because he doesn't have the stats of Cooper Kupp either. So it might be ability. That might be more of the problem. So hey, I mean that's something that happens in a rebuild. It's like guys who you think were gonna be like big parts of your team, it doesn't work out, and sometimes you do have to trade them. Like that is the truth. Jeff, you would know that with the Sixers. I mean, how many guys came through there at one point or
Too
another?
many.
Exactly. Like that's just a part of the rebuild. But it's kind of a good thing, I guess, to get him out because you do have a young quarterback. You don't want to create friction within the team. So about the game itself, I've been hearing a lot about you, especially from you guys, about this Jets defense. And listen, I agree. Guys like Sauce, Franklin Myers, Quentin Williams having a good season. I know CJ Mosley is still out there, Hemback, so I know you're very excited to see him. Maybe we can get him in some coverage situations because he is just phenomenal at covering tight ends, as we know. But have you guys seen the Denver defense? They're also very good. I don't know if you're aware. They're actually a little bit better than the Jets. That's you're not lying. Maybe 16 because we can't seem to get over 16. All right, so you guys are gonna get 6. We're gonna get 0. I mean, your offense isn't that great either. Let's not like act out of character here.
I think maybe Melvin Gordon or Latavius Murray, or maybe, I don't know, something stupid will happen, like 30 yards, and they'll kick like a 50-yard field goal. It's solid.
Yeah, that's true. And it'll be a 6-3 game. That'll be the game. All the scoring will happen probably in like the second quarter too, so we can just be miserable.
I don't think the Broncos could handle.
Brees Hall. You think
Brees Hall.
the Broncos can't handle
He's gonna be
Brees Hall?
running wild in the backfield.
They have to face a running back. Yeah.
Last week, Austin Eckler.
Who did they play last week?
Austin Eckler.
The Chargers.
Well, he's more of a passing guy.
I mean, he had 100 over 100 yards the week before against the Browns. Just saying, but whatever. He's more of a passing guy now because we shut him down from the run. That's why. So he's passing now.
He had like 900 rushing yards last year. It's not like
No. He's been running the ball a lot more this year. He had a great game against the Browns.
Yeah, and then he also was janked the first 3 weeks I had him in fantasy. He almost lost me all those games.
I know, but he's been on a recent hot streak. So what are you going to say? But that's also the story with Brees. I mean, he's kind of came out of
Yeah.
recently. He's kind of came out of there.
I was
He was
gonna.
not great the first couple games either. Yeah, Jeff. Over
I
there.
was gonna bring up something.
He wasn't the starter. He was still averaging 5 yards per carry. He was getting the touches that he's getting right now because Michael Carter was there. He's still pretty solid, but he's good.
All right. So Jeff, over to you.
I'm not sure if they can hear me very well, but I'll try. You can paraphrase for me if you could, Jimmy, after I ask the question. But I was gonna ask. So we've talked about the Bronco offense going up against the Jet defense because the Jet defense has been pretty good this year, and we've known that the Broncos have struggled to just put up points. I mean, they've gotten down to the red zone a bunch of times. Just seems like they settle for 3 a lot.
Or turn the ball over.
So they definitely are leaving points on the board. I definitely think there is room for improvement there, and I think they can do it. I was gonna flip it to the other side. What's going on with the Jets offense here? Because they have a tough matchup this week. I think the key for the Jets is that they're gonna have to find a way to, I don't know, have some creative play packages. I think the Denver D is really, really good, and I think it's kind of being overlooked in this game just a little bit. And I know the Jets have been very good on offense, just in the sense that they're putting up enough points where, I mean, I don't know, maybe you didn't expect them to play like this well this early in the year, but
They definitely didn't expect it. They're Jets fans.
I was gonna ask Aiden and Hemi, what do you think the key is for the Jet offense this week? Do you think they gotta just keep grounding and pounding? Because clearly that's been working, but I don't know, maybe.
What
you
happens
factor
if that
through the
doesn't
air.
work? Right?
Because obviously you got Sertan on the other side and he's a shutdown corner. So where do you go from there? The battle of the Wilsons this week.
Well, I guess
we'll
we'll have to see that this weekend because, everyone's been getting on Russ, but I mean, Zach's a game manager over there. He's a second overall pick. He's not, I don't even know. I mean, listen, that's the truth. Mr. Unlimited's got to be better. I think everybody knows that by watching the game. Saying that Russell Wilson needs to be better, that's the truth. And why not have this be the week, right? Why not to have this be the week? This would be a perfect time. But in all seriousness, no, I agree with you. Zach Wilson, has probably been less of a disappointment than Russell Wilson because at the end of the day, you've been getting wins. If we were winning and he was still struggling, I think it would still be a story, but I don't think it would be the biggest story that it is now. I mean, it's all anyone seems to talk about nowadays is how bad Russell Wilson is and his robbery of a contract. And yeah, I get it. It's a long contract. There's a lot that can happen though. And let's be honest too, one advantage you guys probably have over us that's not even in question is probably your head coach is probably better than ours. I mean, our head coach is a disaster right now. I don't really know if I can trust him to competently manage the game. At least Saleh, I know they're going to be a well-coached defensive team. I mean, the offense isn't always great, but I think you guys have the advantage there.
Yes, sir. Yes, we do. I mean, Robert Saleh is a good coach. What is it, Nathaniel Hackett? I think, right?
Yeah, it is Nathaniel Hackett, unfortunately.
But he reminds you guys,
He reminds me of Freddie Kitchens.
a mixture of Adam Gase and Matt.
Yeah, that's where he belongs in the meaningless coach. Like, where they're gonna have like a wall of shame of NFL coaches. That's where Nathaniel Hackett's gonna be one day.
Hackett, Adam Gase,
Yeah, in overtime against the
Charlie
Chargers,
Jackson.
he was running like up the middle on first down, second down. I was like, this is Adam Gase. He's back. It's Adam Gase.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It just seems like every one of these offensive guys who just is with Rodgers or you know, it seems like when they actually have to coach, they can never actually do it. It's just another story of that, and that's what we're stuck with right now. All right, so we got to wrap this up. We got to get on to the rest of the games here, but I do want to talk about Yankees after, but I want to just hear really quick. Let's get a score prediction from you guys since you are, you know, so confident in the Jets. Give me a score, Hemback. You go first.
I'll go Jets 16, Broncos 10.
Okay, and then Aiden.
I'll go Jets 24, Broncos 9.
Okay, well, all right, so let's move on to the Yankees playoffs.
No
Because
comment
the
there?
only thing that was more ridiculous than that was been Aaron Boone's bullpen management so far this playoffs. The Cleveland Guardians series, thank God we won it, but it was a nightmare with some of the decisions he made. And now we go to Houston, we're down 0-2, and it's just the same thing. Every time we play that team, they hit home runs in the ballpark. I mean, McCormack, Maldonado, these are the guys that are hitting home runs off of us. Yesterday, of course, it's Bregman, and then we had Pena the day before too. I mean, Pena, I guess, is gonna be like a new Yankee killer. Is that like the new expectation I can have now? I mean, it just feels like every time we play these guys, we are just hopeless. It doesn't matter. The game's in Houston, and it's the playoffs. We know we're losing. It's just this. That's every single time. That's how it feels.
Yeah, the season's over.
Yes, I think you got to look at the Yankees, the build of the team, and then you got to say, what the heck happens? Mr. GM, aka Brian Cashman. Like, what this team is home run or nothing that destroys bad pitching. But the minute they come up against any sort of decent pitching, they're not going to hit anything. It's not playoffs. It's not built for the playoffs. It's built for the regular season, and we're never going to win it.
Yeah,
World Series
I'm
is
just that have like the 100 greatest at bats in MLB history. But that's a fact, by the way. That's a stat.
I do miss that Matt Carpenter too.
I missed the Gleyber Torres that was like able to make contact. That was
I miss the Aaron Judge of the regular season.
I miss him too. I miss the John Stonnelton that used to hit home runs against us, but of course not for us. Now all we get is just awful swings that are rollovers and bad strikeouts. I mean, some of his at-bats have been absolutely horrendous these playoffs. It's seriously like mind-boggling. Like, I think because we're paying him so much, I think they just have no option but to just throw him out there. But seriously, I don't think there's any player out there that could have worse at-bats on our team. Maybe besides Trevino, because Trevino has been terrible at the plate as well. But I mean, those two with Gleyber is watching 3 of the worst at bats ever.
Did you see the bat with the John Donaldson against Verlander where he just took like 3 curveballs right down the middle?
Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. Jeff, anything you want to add on the Yankees here? I mean,
and there's a hanging curveball and he just sits there and then he gets strikes out. It's like, and then yesterday he struck out in a ball in the dirt and then he's complaining that he tipped it and then he missed it by 3 feet on the replay.
yeah, I mean, the guy's horrible. There's nothing else to say about that. But Jeff, I mean, you've been obviously taking in this Yankee series too so far, and you know that the Astros have our number better than anybody. So, I mean, how do you view this series as an outsider, especially with somebody who has a team in the NLCS?
Yeah, I thought last night was just a heartbreaker for the Yankees. I thought they were in the game the whole way. I know they were down pretty much the entirety of the game, but that 8th inning, I think when Judge almost hit that home run that was caught right at the wall. I mean, that's just a bad break because it was so close. I mean, that goes over the fence. The Yankees more than likely probably win the game.
Yeah,
But obviously, yeah, I'm gonna state the obvious. Obviously, tomorrow we know is must win. I mean, you go down 3-0, the history is definitely not on your side. I do think though this series is still going to go on farther than 4 games. I think it actually could end up going back to Houston.
I think we're going to win 1 in New York, Jeff.
I think you're going to win 1. I actually think you could win 2 because I actually think the pitching favors you guys in the next 2 games. I like Cole and Cortez. I mean, is that what it is, right?
Yeah.
3 and 4. I actually like your chances there. I think you're going to win game 3. I mean, if I'm wrong, then you can blame me. If the Yankees lose, you can just throw it on me. I'll take the blame.
It would be nice. It would be nice to see Garrett Cole kind of dominate the Astros, but it doesn't really seem like it works that way because it feels like any time that we go up against Astros themselves or like former Astros, he just always struggled. I mean, when we play the Blue Jays, Springer just absolutely kills him. Like that's one of those things that just always happens. I feel like just if you were in an Astro uniform at any point at the same time of Garrett Cole, it just means that you will hit him. Like that's just how the fear that I have. I hand back in, and I don't know if you feel the same way.
And Garrett Cole ran $30 million. But that's what do you have to breach ERA this year? It's terrible.
Yeah, but the Yankee record in strikeouts, what more could you want, Handback?
It's true.
Yeah, I guess that's partially true. All right, boys. Well, as always, we have to move on, but thank you for coming on. Any last thoughts you want to get about the Yankees or the Broncos Jets game?
Yeah, the Yankee season ended when we traded Joey Gallo. And,
Yeah, okay.
the Jets-
So, that was the new beginning, it seemed like.
right when we got on that losing streak.
That's true, I know. It was supposed to be a new beginning at the time.
So Jets,
Yeah, just let's go Jets.
All right, well, thank you as always, boys, for coming on. It was a good time. We'll hear from you. Maybe we'll hear from you on Monday if there's something worth talking about.
I class at 3 o'clock on Monday. So
Well, we can always get some voice memos from you guys and play them aloud, trust me.
you know
All right, well, thank you for coming
Thanks,
on.
guys.
what happened.
All right, so that's gonna be the end of that for now. I mean, 24-9, that was the most ridiculous score request or score prediction I ever heard.
And then I think it was 16-10.
Yeah, at least that one was a little more realistic. Like, I don't think the Jets are putting up 24 points on it.
Well, I was gonna ask you the same question. What do you think? Is
What do
gonna
I-
be the
what do I
score
think?
prediction for this Jets Broncos?
I don't think either team scores over 20 points. I can tell you that.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's gonna happen at all. The over under is 38, so I definitely don't see that. I don't know. I think it's gonna be like probably last second field goal.
You think so? You think it's gonna be down the wire?
I think it's two teams that like kind of play the same way.
It's
Well,
kind of true.
I mean, listen, the only chance, I don't really think the Jets are gonna blow us out because I'm very, very confident in our defense. I do like our defense. I think it's a good defense. The only potential that our defense has is if they run all over us, which it's possible, right? It's always possible. You got to understand that's something that they do well. Through the pass game, though, I'm pretty confident, especially in my man Surtain. We got Simmons. The other corner, not great. Did not have a good game on Monday, Mathis. But I don't know. I'm not going to make a prediction, but I feel like it's going to be a close game. I feel like this is a game the Broncos, if they want to save their season, need to win. I'll say that. And coming into the season, I think if you ask Bronco fans if this is a game they thought they'd win or not, I think the answer would be yes. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, actually, the reason that I'm picking the Broncos to win is because of your defense. I have 100% faith that they can somewhat contain Zach Wilson and the Jet offense. And I think the offense will do just enough. I know they've been I feel like in the teens for every game they play. I feel like every time they play, it's, I don't know, 16 points, 17 points. I think they do just enough. I think they get the win. I think they're going to actually get in the 20s. I think it's going to be 23-17.
All right. Well, Jeff, let's talk about the NLCS because we're kind of still on this baseball kick a little bit. I mean, may as well just talk about it because I want to talk about it. It's a big story, the NLCS. So 1-1, it's going back to Philadelphia. What did you expect out of those first two games in San Diego? Because it was two completely different games, to say the least.
Yeah, so I'm obviously happy with the split. I'll just start by saying that. I think getting one out there was huge. Definitely, it was nice to go back to Philly with the 3 home games, with you having a chance to close it out at home. But yeah, the first game was pretty sound. I know that we only scored 2 runs, but I think the pitching was great. I mean, the theme of the postseason is they kind of just ride Wheeler and Nola. I mean, they'll go as deep as they can, and then hopefully the bullpen won't have to do too much. And that's exactly what happened in game 1. Dominguez came in the 8th, and Alvarado, I believe, came in the 9th, and they both shut down San Diego. And then game 2, definitely a little bit of a role reversal. I think obviously that 1 inning was probably the decider, and I'm referring to that bottom of the 5th inning for San Diego when they put up, I believe, 5 runs. So yeah, as a Phillies fan, it obviously hurt to see that happen, but coming back to Philly for game 3, the place is going to be rocking for sure. I think
Tough pitcher on the mound though tonight for you guys, going up against Musgrove.
Joe Musgrove is going to be a tough matchup. He's had a pretty good year overall. I think his ERA was around 3, might
Yeah,
be
it was
slightly below.
under 3. It was 2.93.
Yes, I'm seeing that now. Yeah, 10-7 record, 184 Ks. So yeah, he's pretty complete pitcher. He was actually really good to start the year, Musgrove. And then he kind of plateaued a little bit in the middle, but he was still a pretty effective pitcher. So yeah, he's definitely gonna be a tough matchup. He's got a lot of pitches he can use. And I think on the flip side for the Phillies, having Ranger Suarez on the mound, you would think that you have some confidence there because he's had some experience here in the playoffs so far, in the NLDS, especially starting the game 1 in Atlanta. And I think having him pitch at home is huge because he's definitely better at home than he is on the road. And then Offensively, I'm not too worried about the offense. I know they only put up 2 runs in the first game. I think 5 is an adequate number for pretty much any game, but I think the offense will find a way to get on the board. I think the question is, can Suarez go deep enough where you're not going to rely on the bullpen to basically hold San Diego for the rest of the game? Because if San Diego gets to Suarez early, I think that's trouble for the Phils. I know they have guys in the bullpen, I think that can kind of stop the offense. I think Falter is one of those guys, maybe Dominguez and some others. But yeah, I think if Suarez goes deep, hopefully the offense gets enough runs where they can win. So yeah, these next 2 games will be huge for the Phils because they won't have Wheeler and all, but we'll see. I got faith.
Yeah, I mean, I think you shouldn't be discouraged because 1-1 going to Philly, I think is a win for you guys. I mean, I don't know, like they're a pretty good team at home. It's all the way on the other side of the country too. So, there's a lot of travel that goes into that both ways too.
Weather will be a little cooler too.
That is
It's
also
definitely not going to be like
San
Southern
Diego,
California weather where it's 60 every day, basically. It'll be
Yeah.
a little colder. Probably be down maybe in the 40s.
Yeah,
So that could be
much
bad.
different environment too. I think the Philly fans, I mean, they really get going for the game. Not that that's like a jab at Padres fans, but I mean, I think Philly's a better sports city than San Diego. I can confidently say that. What do you think is the one thing that the Phillies have to do if they're going to win this game? I think for me, I think it has to be score runs. When their offense is really, really going, that's when they're at their best. Because I felt like especially in the Cardinals series and also in the Braves series, I felt like your offense getting a lead, and it's a shame that you weren't able to do this in the last game because you did get an early lead. But I feel like when your pitching has a lead, it pitches a little bit better.
I agree. I think if you go back to the Braves series, they got out to that huge lead in game 1. And while the Braves did come back, they only lost by 1. The pitching, I guess, held up. Even in the wild card series, the pitching held up when it had to, especially in that game 2 when the Phillies won 2-0. Yeah, I think getting a lead is huge. I think playing from behind is definitely something that they don't want to do. I mean, you saw that in game 2. Once San Diego took the lead, they never looked back. But yeah, I think to answer your question, I think this might be more of a recent thing just because it happened a lot in game 2. I think they need to put the ball in play a little bit more. A lot of people struck out in game 2. I think 4 or 5
But
people
your
had.
team strikes out at decent.
That's true. It doesn't help when you have Schwarber and Hoskins, who are 2 guys that strike out a lot. I just felt like game 2, they didn't really put the ball in play a lot. And a lot of it was, you can credit the Padres pitching. They were really hitting their
It
spots.
also helped that Juan Soto missed a nice fly ball.
That's true,
I
too.
mean, that was kind of the story for that inning. Is like he completely missed a fly ball.
Yeah, and the floodgates opened a little bit for the Phils, but then kind of happened for the Padres. The floodgates opened in the 5th. But yeah, I would like them to just be a little more aggressive when they have 2 strikes. I know it's tough because you try to be defensive. You want to swing at everything, but it's just sometimes I felt like there were certain at-bats in game 2 where there's a pitch down in the zone that's kind of a borderline strike and they just let it go. I just think they need to swing a little bit more. I don't know. They got to be a little more aggressive, I think, on 2 strikes. It's hard to be aggressive on 2 strikes, but I don't know. Maybe they just have to see the ball better. It's hard to explain.
No. I understand what you're saying. You want to put the ball in play because there are times when good things happen when you put the ball in play.
Maybe the day game was tough just to see with the sun glare. I mean, obviously these next 2 games are both at night, so maybe seeing the ball at night is easier. I'm not a guy that would know too much about that, but I would think
I think it honestly depends on where the stadium, like the shade, like where the shade is and whatnot. Like it's a case by case
Yeah.
situation.
I do think though it'll be pitch
And
black
also
both games.
The lights
so-
at some places are difficult to find the balls. Like I have no idea about Citizens Bank. I really don't know. I mean, I don't really watch that many Phillies games to be completely honest with you, but during the regular season to know,
yeah.
but it's
I
possible.
mean, obviously, I think the Phillies have an advantage there because they play all their home games there. San
Yes,
Diego
of
hasn't.
course. And they have the
played
fans
there
on their
and-
side.
right.
And rough fans too.
San
so-
Diego made their visit back in like mid-May, so they haven't been there since May. So
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
we played them in Philly in mid-May. It was a while ago.
No, okay, that was a while ago. Wow. Really quickly too, because we have a break in 2 minutes. And I want to ask you about this because we have not talked about this sport at all. So the NBA started and basically from the early first few games, here's a couple updates. Number 1, I got to get this out there. Got to give a shout out. Loyola Santi Aldama has been starting games
Oh,
for
yeah.
the Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr. is hurt, so Santi's going to get some starting minutes for a little bit. Very nice to see. He had a double-double in his first game, so congrats to Santi Aldama. That's great. The Memphis Grizzlies had their first win over the Knicks. And he had a double-double, so not more that he could really ask for. And congrats to him and keep up the great work. We'd love to see it. The next thing is the Lakers are absolutely horrible. I mean, they might be the worst basketball team I've ever watched for all the stars that they have. Westbrook was horrendous last night, Jeff. Horrendous.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, the Lakers played the Clippers last night, and
But they got blown out on Tuesday against the Warriors.
so yeah, the Lakers, they played in the opening night slate against the Warriors up in the Bay Area for the ring ceremony, banner night, whatever you want to call it. They lost pretty bad up there in the Bay, and then they came back to LA, played the Clippers, their crosstown rival last night, and yeah, it was a weird game because it was pretty close in the first half. The Clippers got a little lead in the third quarter, and then the Lakers went on a crazy run. They actually took the lead briefly in the fourth, and then the Clippers were able to calm down and they got some key buckets late. But yeah, the Lakers.
Do you think the Lakers can get 40 wins?
So
I actually don't know if they
can
get-
they?
I don't know if they
Yes.
can go 500. I'm going to be honest.
Can they get 40 wins? Yes. Will they? I don't think so.
I don't know if they'll get 40 wins.
So listen,
If you ask me if they would go 41 and 41, I would take the under right now.
and listen, I know
They
there's
are
80 games left, but
Awful.
the eye test, they're just not passing the eye test. And listen, LeBron and AD, I mean, they're all world talents. We know what they bring to the table, but outside of that, they just have no shooting. And I know they have some nice role players. I mean, they have guys who can play. I mean, Patrick Beverly's not that bad. He's okay, but he doesn't really bring you much besides tough defense
And some threes.
and threes. I mean, even he doesn't really hit threes a lot.
Yeah, he's not the same shooter.
But then you got welcome back to WLOY, Loyola Radio, streaming online at WLOY.org and Campus TV channel 111.1. You're listening to After the Whistle, Jimmy Cody and Jeffrey Bazzi. We were talking some baseball and a little bit of football and NBA before the break, but now we're going to get into the Sunday slate of games, and there's some interesting games in this slate. I feel like there's interesting games every week. There's a small handful of games I think that are definitely worth mentioning. So Jimmy, let's kick it off. What game would you like to talk about first?
All right, we're going to take it from the top 1 o'clock slate. We got Falcons, Bengals. The Bengals have been sneakily finding their way back into first place. They're in a tie now, again with the Ravens, but they don't have the tiebreaker. But you know, still, I mean, this is early in the season, but they're going up against the Falcons. They welcome them to Cincinnati. The Bengals are actually favored by 6.5. For the Falcons, I mean, they're a team that's kind of flying under the radar. They're finding a way, but they've been finding a way a lot at home. So I'm interested to see for them how it does on the road. But I think honestly, this is a game the Bengals win. They're kind of just a better team, I feel like, and their offense is really starting to get going, especially last game. They were on fire. So if they can do more of that, watch out.
Yeah, I think the Falcons coming into the year, you think, oh, this might be an easy win on the schedule. Absolutely not. They have definitely shown that they can play with pretty much anyone. And I think their offensive creativity has definitely been a key reason why they are 3-3 right now. But yeah, I agree with you, Jimmy. I think the Bengals are a better team. They're kind of finding their way a little bit. I'm not saying they're finding their Super Bowl appearance Bengals last year, but I think they're getting somewhat close to that. And yeah, I just expect it to continue Sunday. I'll take the Bengals at home.
All right, moving on. We got the Lions going down to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Cowboys, of course. Oh my God, I can't even speak today. Of course, lost to the Eagles on Sunday Night Football, but Dak Prescott is back this week. I'm expecting the Cowboys offense to potentially have some pains at the beginning. So I think this one might be a little bit closer than people are expecting. Also, Lions expected to get back Swift this weekend, so we'll see if that can change anything for them. But the Lions defense is not good. That's the problem. And they're so reliant on their offense. And I don't know how they're going to do against this Cowboys defense. Dallas is definitely the better team on paper. But, you know, wouldn't be surprised if it's a little closer than people think.
Yeah, I think the difference here is just the Cowboys have way more of a potent defense than the Lions do. Now, listen, the Lions can score. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Lions can really put up points with pretty much any team in the league. I mean, it's crazy to say that because they're the Lions, but they really can score, and getting Swift back is a huge addition to their team. But yeah, I think the Cowboys find a way to get it done. I agree with you. It might be a slow start for Prescott. I think he'll find his way, though. We'll see, though. Detroit is coming off a bye. It's the first week where teams are coming off a bye, or they are having buys.
Good point.
Some teams had buys last week, but Detroit is coming off a bye, so we'll see if they're well rested. I'm sure they are, but yeah, Dallas is just better. So I'll take the Cowboys there.
All right, so then we have another matchup in Nashville in the AFC South between the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. Titans looking to sweep the Colts. If they win this game at home, they already beat them on the road. It's very interesting how that kind of worked out, but they could put themselves essentially in the driver's seat for the AFC South. If they can win this game, they will be 4-2, and then the Colts would be 3-1. If you're the Titans, though, I think the focus has to be on finding a way to just get to Matt Ryan, because when he is under pressure, he is not great. I thought last week he had a lot of time to throw. The Jaguars didn't really do a great job of getting to him, and he also played a respectable enough game. But you can't let Matt Ryan beat you. If he's going to do that, it's going to happen rarely. It happened last week, so I think the plan for the Titans has to be getting after him this week. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that is the key as well. I think for the Colts, it's huge that they're going to get Taylor back. I think. Is he playing? Is he 100% in?
He is not on the injury report, so I think he's going to play. Yes.
Yeah, so I would assume he's going to be in there. Obviously, he needs to find his form because he has not had a good start to the season after considering his season last year where he just went off in every category. But yeah,
He's only had one touchdown this year.
it's very shocking. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely weird to see one touchdown next to his name in the box score. But yeah, I think,
You talk about him though as a running back. How about the other guy?
yeah, you got Derek King Henry on the other side. I mean, he's definitely going to want to show that he's probably better than Taylor. I mean, I think most people probably view that. I know Taylor had a better year last year, but yeah, this is definitely a battle of the running backs. It's a tough game to pick because I feel like the Colts just have a better roster. It's just they're depleted a little
They
bit, and
do.
they also
I mean,
just
yeah.
haven't shown me enough where I don't
They
know.
never play their best game.
And these teams actually did play recently back in Indianapolis, and the Titans, I think, won, right?
They did, yeah. The Titans are going for the sweep, yeah.
And so, yeah, you bring up how this is a huge game for both teams, but especially the Titans. If they win, they go to 4-2. They would have the
won
tiebreak.
24-17.
They would have the tiebreaker because they would have had the sweep over the Colts. And I think it's huge considering Houston's not really going to stick around, I would think. Jacksonville's still kind of in the mix, but I think it's really going to come down to these two teams. And yeah, it's a really tough game to pick.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Colts.
I think so too. I think they're just due for, I think, a big statement win. I mean, I know they have one already when they beat the Chiefs, but yeah, I think they find a way.
But both these teams have their problems, and I don't think they stack up against the best of the AFC.
Yeah, I think the Colts find a way to split the season series and they make the division more interesting.
Yep. All right. So moving on, we got Packers, Commanders in Landover, Maryland. Rodgers and company coming off a loss against the Jets. They go to the Commanders. For Green Bay, you just hope that this is the get right game if you're a Green Bay fan, because the offense has not looked good for quite a few weeks now. Back-to-back losses to the New York teams, not a great thing. But now they play the Commanders, who won't have Carson Wentz. They're going to have Taylor Heineke as the quarterback. I mean, I like Green Bay. I don't think that that's crazy to say because Washington has been terrible at times this season. But at the same time, too, they have not looked good, and they're going to have to play a lot better if they're going to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, the last 2 weeks for the Packers and their fans have been rough. I think they need to find a way to just get a win. Obviously, they want to see their team play well in the sense that they need the offense to kind of find its way because the offense has been a little pedestrian the last 2 weeks, but I think they're going to win comfortably. I do think Heineke is going to somehow find a way to make the game close because I feel like every time he starts, the Commanders are usually just in the game in somewhat of a capacity. I feel like they're
I agree
always
with
like
that.
down 7, down 10 in the fourth, and then sometimes they'll come back and win, or I don't know, lose on like a heartbreaking field goal miss or whatever. I feel like the Commanders could make it close. It's just, I don't know. I feel like the Packers are just better.
Yeah, no, especially their defense going up the Commanders' offense. I feel like they're going to be able to kind of go against their O-line very easily.
Yeah, I think Green Bay wins somewhat comfortably.
Yeah. All right. So now we go to Carolina, where the Buccaneers, who are 3-3, TB12 and company, go in against the Panthers, who have traded Robbie Anderson in the last week and have also traded Christian McCaffrey. Listen, if you are Tampa Bay and you find a way to lose this game, you may as well just pack up for the season. I mean, it's just that simple. There is no way they should lose this game. It's not like Mayfield's playing.
They're also
Um,
massive favorites at -13.
They have lost their leaders in receiving and rushing this week. Who are they going to give the ball to?
That's a great question.
That's like actually my
Is DJ
my
Moore
concern.
healthy? Is that it?
yeah, exactly. DJ Moore. That's the only guy that.
It's not too appealing.
Yeah, it's not exactly the best scenario. So yeah, it's 13, which is a huge number. 13 points. Wow. But I don't know if the Buccaneers should be getting 13 against anybody because they have not played up to par. Interesting line there.
Yeah.
Very tough. to
The
figure that
comparison,
out.
I think, would be the Steelers-Bills game from a few weeks ago. I think Buffalo was -14, and you saw what happened there. I actually thought Pittsburgh was going to cover, but yeah, Buffalo ran them over. But
Well, Pittsburgh had no chance from the start. They just turned the ball over, getting in their own way, kind of like this
Yeah.
Carolina team.
yeah, I think Tampa Bay wins. I mean, they're obviously way more talented than Carolina. I know they haven't really shown it on the field. I mean,
But I think this is worth mentioning too. Tampa Bay does have some guys hurt. Murphy Bunting not playing, Akeem Hicks not playing, Julio Jones not playing, Cameron Brate not playing. So it's not like I mean, those are not the stars of their team, but those are guys who are going to be all out there.
yeah, they're key clogs. Julio Jones, Cameron Brate, others that are not playing.
No Murphy Bunting, huge too.
Yeah, and then on Carolina's side, I believe they're starting PJ Walker. Is that true?
Yeah, they started him last game.
Right.
Yeah,
and
so-
listen,
For
Don't
PJ
ex-
Walker, it has not gone great, but
I think he can play a little bit. I think he can make plays with the legs. So there's definitely a little element of surprise there. But yeah, I just
Probably-
they just don't have enough.
yeah, I guess for the Carolina Panthers, I guess the focus of their offense kind of becomes Chuba Hubbard from Oklahoma State a few years back. He was a pretty good running back. He's their backup, so I would expect him to get a majority of the carries there. 13 points. Wow, definitely a lot. All right, so here's an interesting one. I thought this one was kind of like the surprise line of the week. The Giants going up against the Jaguars down in Jacksonville. The Jaguars are 3-point favorites, despite the Giants being 5-1 and the Jaguars being 2-4. Now, it's worth mentioning for the Jaguars, they seem like they are a much better team than home. Because at home they've been able to defeat the Colts 24-0. And they were also, well, actually, they've only played one game at home. Wow. So that was their best game. All right. My bad. I thought they had won the other game against the Chargers at home. That was my apologies. I messed up there. But anyway, it is home for them. So I guess, hey, Vegas must think that this is going to be a close game. I mean, I'm very surprised, Jeff. What do you think about this? I mean, for the team like the Giants, though, they do always play close games. So,
Right. Yeah, I was definitely surprised to see the line at -3, especially in the Jags' favor. But I do think this is going to be a close game. I feel like the Giants, like you said, they find a way to usually win these close games. I mean, they're 5-1 for a reason. So obviously, you give credit where credit's due. And I think the coaching staff is probably the number one thing that stands out to most people when you look at the Giants this year. Daboll has definitely done wonders for that team. I think
Mhm.
he's just a smarter play caller than what they've had in the last few years. And then, yeah, the Jacksonville side, they've shown that they can hang around with some teams. I mean, they honestly could have won last week. They went up to Indy and they almost won that game. They're actually up for the majority of the game, and then they lost 34-27. And then all the other games they've been in the game, I think, for the majority of the game. I mean, they've had some close losses in there. They had a blowout win in LA. They blew out the Colts. They had a tough one in Philly, which they were in the game the whole way, and they lost the Texans. So I actually think this is going to be an upset. I'm taking the Jags. I feel like the Giants.
upset, but not really an upset, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's definitely not an upset if you consider the line. But yeah, I think the Giants are better team. It's just, I don't know. I feel like they're due to lose
You
one of
want to
these
see the
close
Giants
games.
lose as a Philly fan. I get it.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right. So we got Browns, Ravens. Ravens, whew, I mean, after last week's debacle, they have got to get a win there. If they lose this game too, I don't
Yeah.
think that is,
Big game for both teams.
And I'll say this too. I think this is showing because I just got added their tickets below $40 for the Ravens game. So I think there might be reaching a little bit of a frustration point with the fan base.
Wow.
Yeah, listen, I know there's a lot of guys for them who are banged up. Peters is banged up, Bateman's banged up, Dobbins is banged up, Andrews is banged up, Lamar didn't practice one day this week. Justin Houston, he hasn't practiced at sometimes this week, and he's been out recently. I mean, they have a lot of injuries. There's no doubt about it. But the only team that has more might be the Browns because they have Ward out at corner, which means they have got to throw the ball down the field. I get that they don't really do that a whole bunch, but I think they're fairly decent at doing it. But that's going to come down to Lamar. He's going to have to win them this game. He has to, because I don't really think that the Browns offense is going to take over the game by passing. They're going to run the ball. Like that's what they're going to do. They're going to try and play possession football, especially with the backup quarterback. They know that. But if the Ravens offense is as great as it could be, this is a game they should win,
Yeah, and
especially with Ward out.
yeah, it definitely feels like a must win for the Ravens because they've had these games this year where they're winning so late in the game and then they just collapse and fall apart. I mean, just take last week and then you take the Dolphins game and the Bills game, I believe is the other one. Yeah, they just got to get a lead and then hopefully the defense holds. I don't know what else they can do personally. I mean, getting a lead and then playing in the hands of your defense and then hopefully just running the ball and doing that. I mean, sounds like that's a great recipe for the Ravens because they're good at running the ball. And you would think historically their defenses have been pretty good. It's just not this season. But
If the Browns were to win this game, and then the Steelers also won their game and the Bengals lost, everybody would be 3-4 in the AFC North.
yeah, and it's all a possibility.
Yeah, it's very much possible. By the way, the Ravens are 6.5 point favorites, which listen, I get it's home, but I don't know if that's a team that's played like 6.5 point.
No, yeah, I would say maybe it's that high because I don't know. If the Ravens offense is putting up points like they can, I just don't know if Cleveland can catch up.
Yeah, Lamar's got to have a better week this week, and I think that's what this comes down to. All right, moving on. We got in Las Vegas, we got the Texans going there, taking on the Raiders. 7-point favorites are the Raiders. Both of these teams only have a 1 win. For the Raiders, I think this is a game that they're the much better team. They cannot afford to lose this game if they're going to keep their season alive. I would expect big things out of them. And I think they're going to do a really good job of running the ball against this Texans defense because they're kind of susceptible to that. They have Stingley over at corner, who's actually, since he kind of didn't really play that great at the beginning, and I said that he wasn't great, he's played pretty good. He hasn't given up a touchdown in a very long time. So that's a good thing to see. And he's had some interceptions. I think he might have had one. But anyway, back to the point here. I think this is a game for the Raiders. They have to win. They have the better roster, no doubt. I mean, they got to win this one. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I'll just echo what you said. This is a must-win for the Raiders. They had a tough Monday night loss in Kansas City before their bye week last week. I think they're going to come back out and use their offensive skill players to their abilities because I think offensively they have a lot of upside there and a lot of potential to put up a lot of points every week. They haven't really shown it much yet, but I think this is a get right game for them. I think the Texans can make it close. This could be one of those 405 games where you're not really looking at it because it's Texans Raiders. I mean, unless you're a fan of the two teams, unless you're a diehard NFL fan, you're probably thinking, oh, why would I watch this game? I think it could sneakily be a good game. But yeah, I think the Raiders have too much offensively.
All right, moving on. We got Seahawks Chargers in LA. The Chargers are 5-point favorites. The Seahawks come in over a win against the Cardinals. Listen, I think this game is going to be close. The Seahawks have played relatively tough games, and I wasn't impressed really with the Chargers offense last week. Now, with that said, the Seattle defense is nowhere near the Broncos defense. But I think this can still be a competitive game because, listen, the Seahawks, they throw the ball down the field, and that's kind of something the Chargers are not great at defending. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some major points in this game. I think it's going to be a lot closer of a game than people give credit for. And I think if you ask most people, like, what is the line for this game? I think everybody would be picking the Chargers. But at 5, I think it tells you it's a little bit closer than you think.
Yeah, I think this game has sneaky shootout potential. I really do.
I do.
I think this could go in the 30s. I think Seattle, they definitely have shown that they're not afraid to chuck it down the field. And I
No.
think Geno Smith is one of those guys where he can just let it go and hopefully Lockett or Metcalf will come down with it. I mean, there's other guys too, but those are the two main ones. And then on the LA side, we know Herbert's not afraid to sling it either. And, you know, if they get into a 4th down play, they're going to probably give him the ball a lot. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be back and forth. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a game where, like, I don't know, Seattle comes down, scores a touchdown, and Chargers come right back, score a touchdown. I think it just go back and forth like table tennis. I really do.
I think the one thing that the Chargers have working in their favor is they're going to be getting Keenan Allen. It's expected they're going to get Keenan Allen back. So, you know, their offense should maybe be cranked up another gear.
And maybe that's frees up Mike Williams too, because he's a great number 2.
Yeah, Mike Williams really did well against Pat Surtain. What do you have, like 10 yards?
Yeah.
Bum. I hate that guy so much. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a Broncos fan, I don't know why, but he really irks me the wrong way. He's always complaining for calls and he's always pushing off, yet never gets called. All right, moving on to another AFC West team who I despise, the Kansas City Chiefs. They're playing against the 49ers. Listen, 49ers made that big move this week. They're serious about winning, and this is a home game that I think a lot of people just look at it. Oh, 2 points. Kansas City is the favorite. They're on the road. This should be Kansas City win. Don't be surprised if the 49ers win this game. They play really good at home. Really, really, really good at home.
They do, and I think they have the playing style where I think it's perfect when you play the Chiefs. They kind of
Agree.
like to keep the ball for a while, get all the way down and score. I think they can really use that to their advantage, and it would be a huge advantage if somehow, some way McCaffrey does play.
He is going to suit up. They're going to use him in a limited role. You know what I'm probably thinking? Probably third down running back passes. That's probably what they're going to look to do.
I mean, that's a good idea.
Or they can just be a receiver and be like, listen, we'll just try to add a little sprinkle for him. And you got to get him involved somehow. He can run routes. It's not like he doesn't know how to play football. Like, as long as they can just simplify it on a few plays, there's definitely a chance they can have him out there.
Yeah, I really hope the Niners stick to their game plan of usually just grounding and pounding the ball, making Jimmy G make pretty easy throws.
The timely throws.
Because I think on the other side, I think Kansas City is going to be somewhat out for blood because they're coming off a tough loss at home last week to Buffalo. So they definitely don't want to lose 2 in a row. And they don't want to let the Chargers take over first place, potentially because the Chargers do have 4 wins as well.
Mhm.
So I think Kansas City coming in, they're going to try to just do their thing and take care of business. It's not going to be easy, though, because San Francisco, while they are a little bit banged up,
And they played horrible last week.
They
When
can play with anyone.
they do this all the time where they go through these phases where they look absolutely horrendous and then they come out and they win the next game at home. And they did the same thing when they lost to the Broncos on the road. They couldn't even, I mean, Jimmy G's running out of the back of the end zone. And then the next week they come out and absolutely destroy the Rams on Monday Night Football.
yeah. And
That's just kind of the team they are.
yeah, they're very up and down. I think they can win this game. And you know what? I'm going to pick them to win.
I am too.
I think they're going to
I'm
do
gonna
it.
I'm gonna pick the 49ers as well. I like them. All right, Steelers, Dolphins, that's Sunday Night Football, our last game here. I know we're going a little bit over. So Tua is back. That's kind of the story here. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully nothing happens to him. I guess Kenny Pickett's gonna be back there as the quarterback because he's no longer on the injury report. As for the Dolphins, they just gotta make sure that Jalen Waddle's gonna play. I know he's a little bit banged up, but what do you look at this game? I don't think it's the most interesting Sunday Night Football game, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer because I don't really know if the Dolphins offense is going to be the Dolphins offense that it was before the Tua injury. Like there's been quite a few weeks that have gone by.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the Dolphin offense because if it's anything like they were in the first 3 weeks, I don't think Pittsburgh really has that great of a chance.
But I don't know if it's going to be that.
Yeah, so I don't know how healthy Tua is. I mean, listen, he definitely has chemistry with Waddle and Hill, but yeah, I think this is a game that the Steelers can win. And I think, like you said, you brought up how if the Steelers win and Cleveland wins, every AFC North team would be 3-4. And you know what? I think the Steelers are coming in with a little bit of house money just because I don't think many people will pick them to win. I think some people will, but I think the majority of people will pick the Dolphins. And you know what? They're coming off a huge win at home against Tampa Bay. It's definitely going to be a confidence booster. I think the way they play too, the Steelers, I think that works into their favor. I think they can keep Tua and Hill, Waddle, and all of them off the field for a good majority of the time. I think that works in their favor.
They're also getting Minka Fitzpatrick back on defense.
And he's gonna have some little bit of revenge on his mind. He used to be a Dolphin, so it might be some little revenge on his mind there, a little bit of payback on his mind. But yeah, I still like the Dolphins, but I don't know. I
I'm
think
gonna
this is
take-
a pick 'em.
I'm going to take the Steelers.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but yeah.
I just think if Tua is on and he's hitting Waddle and Hill, I mean, they're game wreckers with their speed. But the Steelers, they play a great brand of football.
Well, sometimes they do, not always, but
If they stick to it and they
depends.
actually
I don't know.
execute it.
Last week I thought their defense kind of stepped up, so maybe if they can do that again.
I think they can do it again against the Dolphins O-line. I think there's some room for success there.
Yep, I agree. All right, so we'll talk Bears Patriots. That's the Monday Night Football game. We'll go over all the Sunday football games on Monday as well, and then we'll also discuss the both American and National League Championship Series. Hey, there's a potential by this weekend we could know who's in the World Series.
That's very true. Yeah, we'll have to see how that shakes out. Good luck to your Yankees.
Yeah, and good luck to your Phillies, Jeff. May we potentially see each other in the World Series.
Yeah, run it back from 13 years ago.
Yep, yep. All right. So thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you back here again on Monday at 3.